Today we will crown a national champion here in year number 3 of the Virginia Tech Hokies Dynasty here on EA College Football 26. We are down from 8 teams now to 4. Today we will go through both of the semifinal games along with the national championship. Now, unfortunately, we are not amongst the 4 teams left. In the last episode, we were brutally frame-mogged at the Rose Bowl against number 1 seed Ohio State. I didn't really know what exactly to expect going into that game, but unfortunately, we never really stood much of a chance, losing 37-14. Texas and Clemson was the most competitive game, the Longhorns winning 34-27 with a last-second touchdown. Georgia beat Wisconsin 40-0. Wisconsin losing their coach Luke Fickell before the game to Michigan, and they just didn't really look the same after that. And then Texas Tech led 10-0 after the first quarter against Miami, but it was all Canes after that. In our game, though, we certainly struggled. I don't think it's really on Judah Hudson, though. Both of the interceptions were in garbage time. He was just kind of throwing stuff up. We just never really were able to establish anything on offense. Didn't have enough time to throw. Didn't have enough room to get the run game going. And our receivers, other than Nazir Ishmael, didn't really give us a whole lot of production. Ishmael, even, this was his first game all year that he didn't score. The defense also was not great. Malachi Foreman, the standout redshirt sophomore in his first career playoff game, looked the part. I thought our run defense played well, but we couldn't really cover Juju Webb, who had 9 catches for 131 yards. Deontay Tyler had a 67-yard reception towards the end of the game. The Ohio State offensive line was phenomenal, even without a projected top 10 pick at left tackle. And then their defense, man, I mean, they've got so many stars. Even guys like Oakton Filipovich, who didn't really fill up the stat sheet in this game, their impact was still clearly felt. Chris Islands, the number 1 corner, who's going to be a first-round pick, I think. I thought he had a really good game on Nazir Ishmael. I know Ishmael had 10 catches, but he was not as productive as normal because he was going up against an All-American corner. So we've got 4 teams left. Texas and Ohio State at the Peach Bowl. Georgia and Miami at the Fiesta Bowl. A lot of fun storylines. 4 great teams for what it's worth. I mean, there are no Cinderellas this year, and of course Cinderellas are always fun, but it feels like we're going to get a very deserving national champion, and you could easily argue that these were the 4 best teams during the course of the regular season, so it definitely feels like that we're going to get a very rightful national champion. Let's get started with the number 5 seed Texas Longhorns and the number 1 seeded world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes. Texas is the only one of these 4 teams who has not made it to the semifinals already in this series. The Longhorns went undefeated, though, in the regular season with a very impressive resume to boat. Beat LSU, beat Tennessee on the road. The Vols are a really good team this year. They beat Arkansas on the road. Remember, Georgia lost to Arkansas. They blew out Ole Miss. I think their most impressive win of the year. Of course, they struggled in the SEC title game, but they blew out Oklahoma State in the first round of the playoff, and they knocked out the defending champion Clemson Tigers coming off a first-round bye with Nick Eberle playing. Eberle, of course, had been out for the last couple of weeks, but he was back for Clemson. Texas still won. Wyatt Cruz has really turned some heads for NFL scouting evaluators. He's been really impressive through the first 2 playoff games, but this is the best defense he's seen. I mean, Clemson's defense, I think, is okay. Oklahoma State, I mean, they have a defense, but neither of those 2 teams are at the level defensively that Ohio State is. Nonetheless, he's got plenty of weapons to get the ball to. John Little played against Clemson, their running back, and he was quite good. But George Rizzo being out obviously makes things complicated defensively. He suffered a season-ending knee injury in the first round of the playoff against Oklahoma State. They were okay without him against Clemson, but they didn't win that game because of their pass rush, and they're going to have to send some pressure to Malachi Foreman. The Buckeyes are currently 14-0. They're the last undefeated team remaining, and they've got as good of a resume as anyone. Beat Arizona State on the road, beat Washington on the road, beat Wisconsin on the road. And really in the second half of the year, they've turned it up a notch. They scored 60 against Penn State, 69 at the Big House against Michigan, blew out Nebraska in the conference championship, blew out Virginia Tech at the Rose Bowl. And look at what their defense has done. Since week 8 against UCLA, I think the most amount of points they allowed was 21 in the Penn State game, that they still won by about 40. So that almost doesn't really count. Malachi Foreman is playing as good as any quarterback in college football right now, and he is starting to run away with being the #1 overall pick in this year's draft, even with a bunch of great non-QBs like Nazir Ishmael, his teammate Ogden Filipovich, and Darryl Ramsor of Miami, who we're going to see later today. Foreman, I feel like, has really elevated himself above those guys and above the other quarterbacks in this class, like Arion Igwebuike and Judah Hudson and Wyatt Cruz and others. They've got to establish the run, though. That's the one Achilles heel for this team, and it showed in the game against Virginia Tech. They did not run the ball well, but it didn't matter because everybody else was great. Sophomore Aston Alexander is a legit #1 receiver. Juju Webb, Devontae Francois, they're very good complementary pieces, and Tyson Dakota will be the first tight end off the board. On the offensive line, they're going to get back left tackle Savion Rocker, who didn't play in the Rose Bowl against us. That's a big deal. He's the top projected offensive lineman in the draft. And then defensively, Ogden Filipovich might be the best defensive player in the country. He's going to go in the top 5, but it's not just him. Isaac Sarfo could go top 100. Rudy Sledge could go in the first round. That's 3 pass rushers with at least 8.5 sacks. And then in the back end, Nick Pooley is going to be a first-rounder this year. Josh Fenix could go high. Chris Islands is going to be a first-rounder. B.J. Sampson's a legit NFL prospect. Kamorian Baker's probably going to go pretty high if he declares this year. I mean, this team has an embarrassment of riches. We talked about it going into the Rose Bowl. They've got 5, 6, 7 guys on defense who could go in the first round. And oh yeah, they have maybe the best quarterback in the country and the likely #1 pick leading the way on offense. But this Texas team went undefeated in the regular season, in the SEC no less. They beat some great teams, and they just knocked off the defending champions. Can the Longhorns look to upset the Ohio State Buckeyes, or will Ohio State avenge their semifinal loss in year 1 where they blew it against Texas Tech? And can they make it to the national championship for the first time since the Puma Whitlock era? 3rd down and 6. Foreman and Ohio State starting with the ball. He dumps it off for the tight end, Tyson Dakota, and he loses a yard. Ricky Eifler, the veteran senior linebacker, brings him down. Texas has it, and they're moving it well early. Cruz up the middle. That one is hauled in by Remington Motley, who has scored in each of the 2 playoff games for Texas. His brother, Ricky Motley, is the backup running back of Ohio State. Some family affairs. 3rd and 5. It's caught by John Lennon. He does not get the first, however. It's Chris Islands, the top projected corner in the draft, making the play, and that'll bring out the field goal team. 32-yarder for Casey Teague is good, and the first points of the college football playoff semifinal is scored by the kicker for Texas. So the Longhorns lead at 3-0. Ohio State coming off a 3-and-out on their last drive, certainly hoping to avoid that same fate. Foreman lobs it up. Tipped and caught! Tyson Dakota off the bounce gets 43. What in the world? That had no business working at all. Malachi Foreman just figured he would lob it up. It was a wobbly ball. He was just kind of hoping for a prayer. 2 Texas defenders tip it right into the hands of the All-American tight end Dakota for a huge first down. Wow, what a play by Ohio State. The Buckeyes offense now appears to be in business inside of the 30. 2nd and 5, strike up the middle. It's Dakota again. He's got all 4 of Malachi Foreman's completions for 60 yards, the go-to guy early. 2nd and 1, Foreman under pressure, and he is sacked. No George Rizzo, no problem on that play for the Longhorns. It's Nate Crummy coming in off the blitz. Crummy with 3 interceptions over the last 2 weeks, including the big pick 6 against Clemson. He was joined by the safety Prince Kenkeo. On 3rd and 9, Foreman goes short. Juju Webb, first down, into the end zone. The Ohio State Buckeyes take the lead. Juju Webb, who was awesome against Virginia Tech. He was their best receiver in that game. With the score, and that will make it 7-3. And that'll wrap up a pretty exciting first quarter so far. Texas with a field goal on their only drive. Ohio State's offense starting slowly, but the tipped reception by Tyson Dakota is really what gave them the momentum for this drive, ultimately leading to a touchdown. Now, they still haven't been able to run the ball. -6 yards on the ground. Granted, some of those came on the sack we just saw, but still, they have not been able to establish the run game. That's been the problem for them throughout the course of the year. It hasn't caused them to lose any games yet. They're still blowing everybody out, but that could come back to bite them against these premier teams. Spin move for Little, runs in front of his blocker, and there he goes. All the way to the 30-yard line. A great run by the senior running back. It's a 31-yard gain. Remember, Little was dinged up against Oklahoma State. He didn't play much, but he looked healthy and he looked good against Clemson. Cruz on first down with a strike up the middle. It's hauled in to about the 5. It's Kwabena Yeboah with the reception. Nearing the goal line, 2nd and goal. Motley, the RPO, touchdown Texas. 3 playoff games and 3 touchdowns for Remington Motley. And the Longhorns regain the lead. It's 10-7. Texas offense looks impressive so far. Wyatt Cruz has been unfazed by this all-star defense. 3rd and 10. Foreman takes a shot, and it's broken up in the secondary. Texas get the stop. They'll get it back. Texas is very much looking the part through the first 15 minutes. Big hit, though, on 3rd down. So Ohio State gets the stop, and they will get it back on offense. Nick Pooley with the hit, projected first-round safety. Deontay Tyler with the juke move. He gets it near the 40. Tyler's best runs are really impressive. He's got a ton of burst, but it's just about a play-to-play consistency for him. Ricky Motley going the wrong way. Good job by Ben Small, the true freshman defensive back with the TFL. 3rd down and 14. Foreman looks to throw it. Foreman's pass is caught high. Aston Alexander only gets a few. Given that George Rizzo isn't healthy and Clemson really had no trouble moving the ball last week, I was skeptical of the Texas defense, but they look good so far. 4 drives, only 1 score for Ohio State. DeKalen Jackson has room to run. The redshirt sophomore, who I think is the best receiver on this team. He'll be a top 100 draft pick this year. Little breaks the tackle, and John Little has been off to a very impressive start today for Texas. He is running like a madman. 2-minute timeout in the first half. Play action. Here's Cruz with time. Lobs it up. And it's hauled in by Jackson again. Past the 40 for a first down. Texas on offense is having no problem moving in. I mean, Wyatt Cruz is dealing. He connects with Kwabena Yeboah. Only 172 pounds at 6'4", but he's breaking tackles. I mean, we could not do any of this in the Rose Bowl, but it looks easy for the Longhorns. DeKalen Jackson, his first career playoff touchdown. And it's a 2-score lead in favor of Texas. They're gaining some control here at the end of the first half. And Ohio State might officially be on upset alert. Now, they do have 49 seconds here in the first half and all 3 timeouts. It's Ricky Motley up the middle. He gets the first down near the 40. Ohio State trying to stick with the run. They figured Texas was expecting the pass, and it works. They get the first down, about 12 yards, and we'll call a timeout. 2nd and 5, down to 1 timeout. Foreman under pressure, goes short for Tyler. He goes the wrong way, and Ohio State very quickly burns their 3 timeouts and only 3 plays. So now they're all out. They still do it 34 seconds, I suppose, as it is 3rd down and 8. With Tyler in motion, Foreman by himself in the backfield, looks to throw it, goes short. Aston Alexander does not get the first down, and that will just about wrap up the first half. Ohio State's offense has looked invincible over the last 2 months, playing against a shaky Texas defense who's without by far their best player, and Ohio State has really struggled. 5 drives, only 1 of them they've ended up scoring. They trail 17-7. Wyatt Cruz significantly outplaying Malachi Foreman up to this point. So far, Foreman is 10 of 14, 99 yards and a touchdown, so the numbers are not bad, but he just hasn't really been impressive. Tyson Dakota has been good, 4 catches, 60 yards, all of which came on their touchdown drive. Wyatt Cruz, 17 of 21, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. John Little, 7 carries, 64 yards. Kwabena Yeboah, 4 catches, 54 yards. And DeKalen Jackson, 4 catches, 40 yards, and a touchdown. Jackson's not done early in the 3rd. Spins away from traffic, gets the first down. A lot of quick passes for Texas. They know Ohio State is a great pass rush. These receivers are making plays after the catch as Cruz fires, and it's hauled in by Yeboah. He gets it past the 25, and Texas is picking up right where they left off from the first half to now. It looks easy for their offense. Cruz, read option with plenty of room. Touchdown, Texas! Number 1 Ohio State is officially in trouble with a capital T. Wyatt Cruz is picking these fellas apart, whether it's through the air or on the ground. We couldn't do any of this last week, and it wasn't just us. The other 13 teams Ohio State played this year couldn't do it either. But Wyatt Cruz and company are making it look effortless. A 3-score game, 24-7, as Ohio State gets it back, 3rd down and 9. Alexander is the motion man. Foreman looks to throw up the middle. He's got Aston Alexander with a big first down. There's still plenty of time for Ohio State. 3 minutes in the third. You got the entire fourth. It's not time to panic. And this is where Foreman can show scouts how he responds to the moment and the adversity. As Tyler goes backwards, Ricky Eifler brings him down again. Pivotal 3rd down and 12 for the Buckeyes. Alexander in motion once more. Foreman, quick throw. Alexander does not get much. Nate Crummy, the corner, who's been one of the best players of the playoff, brings him down. DeKalen Jackson now with plenty of room on the screen. All the way to the 20. He's been a monster after the catch. I mean, this is shocking. Texas has completely dominated this game over the last 2 quarters, and this is turning into a total blowout. Through 3, the Longhorns are in clear control. 24-7 with the ball in the red zone and a chance to add to the lead even more. They've dominated time of possession. They have nearly 100 more rushing yards, over 100 more passing yards. For averaging 3 more yards per play, this Ohio State team was arguably the best team in the country this year, and they are getting ran out of the building. Texas is 10 minutes away from a national championship appearance as Luis Chaparra gets it on the 3rd down screen, and he goes the wrong way. Rudy Sledge brings him down, and that'll bring out the field goal unit. It's Teague time. No draws. 42-yarder is up and good. 27-7 lead now for Texas, and it feels like time is running out for Ohio State. And realistically, at this point, they've kind of got to be perfect. With 9:28 to go, they haven't scored since the first quarter. College football's hottest offense and best quarterback have faltered on the biggest stage. Foreman up the middle with a strike. It's caught by Alexander, breaking tackles inside the 30. There's a big play. Ohio State's got to get a few of those over the next 8+ minutes. They need some chunk plays, and they need to move the ball quick, given that it is a 3-score deficit. Despite trailing by 20, they're not going away from the run yet. Tyler got out of his break really fast there, but I feel like they maybe should stop running the ball. It hasn't worked for them today, and time is of the essence. They're wasting a lot of time on this possession. 3rd down and 9. Foreman looks to throw it under pressure. It is broken away. In and out of the hands of Juju Webb. And with 5:36 to go, Ohio State feels like they have to get this 4th and 9. Foreman looks to throw it for the end zone. Broken up, incomplete. Texas with the stop. And the Longhorns are likely in cruise control with under 5 to go. The upset nearing completion. Cruz on 3rd down. It's on the money, but broken away by Islands. He was looking for DeKalen Jackson. And with under 5 minutes to go, Ohio State, they have to be flawless if they want any slight chance for a miracle. As Dakota gets the first down. Now at around the 33, it's Tyler with room. Deontay Tyler showboating into the end zone for a touchdown. The first score for Ohio State since the first quarter. It's been a while. They've got a lot of work to do, but I suppose this is a start. Deontay Tyler, a 33-yard rushing touchdown. Texas with 4 to go, still very much in a comfortable spot, leading by 13 with the ball. It's an end around. John Lennon goes the wrong way. Isaac Sarfo brings him down. 2nd and 13 now for the Longhorns. DeKalen Jackson, the motion man. It's a double fake. Cruz goes short. Jackson, spin move. Not much. Big 3rd down here on both sides. If Texas gets it, they can choose some clock and really just about win this game. Cruz looks to throw it. Under pressure. Cruz dances around, throws it away. A quick stop for Ohio State, and they'll get it back with 2.5 minutes to go. They can make it a 1-score game here. 3rd down and 5, trailing by 13. Foreman lobs it down the field. It's caught! Juju Webb to about the 20. Ohio State continuing to march down the field into the red zone. This is Deontay Tyler to the 5, and that will bring us to the 2-minute warning. A 1st and goal for Ohio State with a chance to cut the lead to 1 score. I mean, their offense was dilly-dallying for 35 minutes. They've finally shown up to the party, even if it feels way too late, as Foreman doesn't get much on the option. This clock will continue to go. Ohio State does have all 3 timeouts, though, for what it's worth, and they certainly don't want to use them yet. 2nd and goal. Foreman looks to throw it. Foreman, end zone, touchdown! Tyson Dakota is in for the score. He has had himself quite the afternoon, solidifying himself into the first round. It's a one-score game. The Buckeyes have still a lot of work to do, but it is not quite over just yet. Don't count out the #1 overall seed. So they did not go for the onside. They trust their defense, who's gotten a couple big stops in a row. First down, Cruz option, gets about 14. Ohio State uses their first timeout. Big run for Cruz, and they're pretty much a first down away from ending it. As Cruz goes the wrong way that time, Rudy Sledge brings him down. Fool is once, shame on you. Fool is twice, shame on us. Ohio State does not bite for the bait the second time on the option. Chaparra loses about 3 more. And now it's third down and very long. Ohio State uses their last timeout. If I'm Texas, I run the ball. Make sure 40 seconds of this clock go off. They will throw it. Cruz under pressure, and he is sacked. Deontay Bland. Ohio State will get the ball back, only down by 6, and a chance to win the game. Now, I don't think the sack is the worst thing there for Texas. If I'm the Longhorns, I'd rather lose 10 yards than give Ohio State an extra 40 seconds. But the Buckeyes are going to have 49 seconds. They'll need to drive 62 yards down the field without any timeouts, down by 6. They've moved down the field quickly twice. Can they do it again? Webb gets about 9. They've got to hurry this up. Tick, 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 38, 37. Foreman spikes it, and it's third down. The fact that Ohio State's even brought this to this point is a miracle. 4 minutes ago, they were down by 20, and they didn't even have the ball. Foreman, read option, gets the first to around the 50. I don't love that they ran it because the clock is going to still move quickly, but at least they got the first down. Under 30 seconds to go. They're not moving it very quickly. Foreman looks to throw it, and he will throw it away. So now where there's only 23 seconds, they have not moved the ball fast enough at all. I'm getting flashbacks to the semifinals from 2 years ago where the Buckeyes were in a very similar spot, and they were moving the ball extremely slowly. With just seconds left in the game, there was no rush from them at all. Got to assume they're going to run Hail Mary. They better not go short. Wow. I was joking when I said that. I wasn't being serious. I didn't think he'd throw the ball 5 yards with the season on the line. What the hell? It almost feels as if Ryan Day has not learned his lesson at all. They've burned half of their clock, and they've gotten maybe 15 yards. In this scenario, though, a field goal isn't enough. They need a touchdown. Only 23 seconds left, just past the 50. Foreman looks to throw it down the field. He's got Dakota! Past the 25. There's the big play Ohio State needed. 8 catches, 118 yards for Dakota, and the Buckeyes might be in business. We're down to 18 seconds now at the 23. Foreman scrambles, end zone, broken up, incomplete. Now with 13 seconds to go. Ohio State might have 2 or 3 chances to put this in the end zone and complete the historic comeback. 2nd and 10. Foreman looks to throw it, dances around, under pressure. He knows he cannot get sacked. He had to throw it away. And now there's only 8 seconds left. 3rd down and 10 from the 23-yard line for Ohio State. Foreman looks to throw it, up the seam, Webb, touchdown! The world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes are an extra point away from completing the greatest comeback in the history of the college football playoff. They were down by 20 without the ball not even 5 minutes ago, but they have stormed all the way back to tie it and presumably take the lead. Jarrell Moe, the 62 overall redshirt freshman, will look to put Ohio State up by 1. His kick is up, and it is good! 28-27 with 5 seconds to go. Ohio State is moments away from pulling off the impossible. On the return, clock hits 0! It's over! Ohio State completes history! The Buckeyes are going to the national championship. They knock off Texas 28-27 in an absolute thriller. A game where Texas was clearly the better team. And Wyatt Cruz significantly outplayed Malachi Foreman. Ohio State's offense did nothing. The the first 35 minutes of the game. But I said it in the third quarter. I am curious, and NFL scouts as well will be paying attention to see how Malachi Foreman is going to respond to the adversity. How about 3 late touchdown drives when the game looked out of reach to lead Ohio State to an improbable comeback, keep the undefeated season going, and bring them to the national championship? Wow! That was crazy. We saw Georgia blow a 20-point lead in the semifinals just last year. So this isn't totally unprecedented. But Georgia did it in a quarter and a half. Texas did it in about 4 minutes. I mean, they speed ran the most impressive choke job I've ever seen. A game where they significantly outplayed the number 1 team in the country. The super team Ohio State Buckeyes were getting compared to the back-to-back national champion Ohio State teams in the original NCAA Next Up days with Puma Whitlock at quarterback. Malachi Foreman might not be Puma, but he might be the next closest thing. 26 of 38, 320 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was not very good the first 3.5 quarters. But when the lights got the brightest and when he needed to clutch out 3 huge, timely drives, he sure did. Tyler had some big runs, and Ohio State's rushing numbers as a team are good. I still don't think they ran it very well. It wasn't a very consistent run game. They kept trying to go for the ground and pound strategy in the fourth, and to their credit, it kind of worked, given that they had the big run by Tyler. Juju Webb, 895 and 2 scores, including the game winner. He was awesome. Tyson Dakota, welcome to the first round officially, young man. 8 for 118 and a score. The offensive line was great. 19 more pancakes for Kenji Ito. That's a lot of pancakes. Defensively, not great for 3 quarters, but they got stops when they needed to. They had 2 or 3 drives in a row at the end of the game, and if Texas gets a few more first downs on even one of those drives, the game's over. They didn't have any turnovers. They only had the 1 sack, but it was at the biggest point of the game. The unfortunate thing for Texas is I don't think Wyatt Cruz is responsible at all for this game going away. His and Foreman's passer ratings were nearly identical, and you could argue Foreman's numbers are honestly more impressive. I thought Wyatt Cruz was way better. I think Cruz was tremendous. He clearly found a good strategy of looking short, getting his receivers the ball and opportunities after the catch, and when he needed to make big throws, he did. But on those last couple of drives, it's not even like he made mistakes. His throws were accurate. When he did drop back, the one play he took a sack, which was probably the best thing he could have done there. It's just the offensive line and the run game, they sold it late. DeKalen Jackson, 7 for nearly 100. Yeboah was good. Motley had another touchdown. Little was really good up until the fourth. I mean, they ran it down Ohio State's throat for most of the game until the end. Defensively, they were awesome for 3.5 quarters. Nobody was able to do this against Ohio State all year. But when the lights were the brightest, they pissed down their leg. They allowed 3 touchdown drives, and their season is over. Georgia can relate to Texas in a lot of ways because they were up 20-0 in the semifinals last year and lost. Well, guess what? Georgia has a chance to avenge that loss, given that it was against Miami. The Canes, of course, made the national championship a year ago. Graham Glikowski, the quarterback, gets injured in the first quarter, and they never really stood a chance after that. Their backup sucked, and they ended up getting blown out. Well, they're 13-1. They have, in my opinion, the best resume in college football, and that was enhanced with their ACC title win against Clemson and beating Texas Tech in the second round, granted in their home stadium. Graham Glikowski, of course, has had an up-and-down season. He's amongst the NCAA leaders in interceptions with 17, but he's been pretty good in the playoff throughout his career, and boy, does he have a lot of playoff experience. This is now his 6th playoff game. He's 3-2 in games he's started. That includes the national championship last year, where he was playing pretty well in the first quarter until he got hurt. Of course, Miami, I think, has a better running back duo and certainly a better run game than last year with Evan Sutton and Damon Hershey. The receiving core is definitely not as good. No more Marquise Maryland and no more Joshua Finney, who, of course, is now in Cleveland. It's really an everybody-has-to-eat strategy for the Canes. They don't have the clear number 1, although in terms of yards per game, it is Raekwon Ishmael. Although he has missed a few games this year, he is going to play today. But very balanced approach. Their top 5 guys are all within about 300 yards of each other. The offensive line, much like last year, is absolutely elite. Their defense is much different than last year. They're worse in the back end. Obviously, they had multiple first-round corners with Ahmad Lacey with the Colts and Kwabena Kamalu with the Panthers, but their pass rush is a lot better. Daryl Ramsor could easily be the top defensive player off the board, either him or Filipovic from Ohio State. If not Ramsor being Miami's best defensive player, it's probably LaMichael Love, who has 14 sacks of his own. The Georgia offensive line is certainly going to be in for it today. Miami's secondary is not as good as they were a year ago, and I think that's the biggest reason why they came back against Georgia. Ryan Lockley threw 4 interceptions in the semifinal game a year ago, and to be honest, he didn't look a whole lot better in Georgia's first playoff game this year against Wisconsin. That, to me, is what makes them all the more scary. They won 40-0 while their quarterback played bad. I mean, that just shows how good this team is. This defense is so talented up front. They've got a ridiculous front seven, and I think their secondary is even better than Ohio State, which says something because the Buckeyes have maybe 3 first-rounders in that group this year. With Ryan Lockley, it's certainly an interesting discussion because he has been the best quarterback in the country this year. 3rd in the Heisman race. He's been awesome. But in his 3 playoff starts, he hasn't really been very good in any of them. And unlike Wyatt Cruz today, he is the biggest reason why his team blew a 20-point lead in the semis last year. He threw 4 picks, and he's not going to have his lead running back. Curtin Pexel suffered an abdominal tear in their win against Wisconsin. He will not play today, and if Georgia wins, he will not be available for the national championship. That is a huge deal. He might be the best running back in the country. So it'll be Jamison Vales and the 5-star freshman, Orion Robinson, who lead the way out of the backfield. That means their passing game is going to have to be even more on point. They had the best receiving tandem in the nation, Adrian Moon and K. Mariah Jackson, who have combined for 3,200 yards and 35 touchdowns. Defensively, they are loaded, and we saw this firsthand against Wisconsin, who could not muster up a single point. Ahmad Smith, I think, locked himself into the first round. He had 3 sacks in that game. Isaiah DeRugi, I'm excited to talk about him in the upcoming Browns prospect profile. Deontay Kane has 10 sacks, and then in the secondary, Aries Frost, DJ Harper, Avion Grammy with the pick 6, Forrest Robinson, Isaiah Speasy, Rayleigh Kearns, who won the National Defensive Player of the Week a week ago. I mean, they have an embarrassment of riches in the back end. It feels like every year they're churning out great players left and right. At this point, we only have 3 teams left in the playoff, and it's the teams ranked number 1, number 2, and number 3. And I feel like throughout the course of the year, Ohio State, Georgia, and Miami have been the 3 best teams in the country. So we are going to have a thrilling finish to the season, I think, and a very, very well-deserving national champion. We will truly crown the best team in the country. Georgia will start with it. Low snap, Lockley to throw on first down. And yeah, that was not even close. That was a problem against Wisconsin. His accuracy in that game was just off. I mean, he's got to make his throws. Miami's defense is a whole lot better than Wisconsin's. Up the middle, there's a nice throw and catch for a first down. It's Jamison Vales. Despite being the 3rd-string running back last year, Vales led the team in rushing in the semifinal game against Miami himself. On the screen, Cameron Lewis, the number 3 receiver, with the first down. 2nd and 7. Georgia's moving it really well early. Lockley, short throw. The tight end, Moochie Wilson, goes the wrong way. A couple guys, including number 1, Daryl Ramsor. Keep an eye on him. Bring him down. Ramsor was quiet in the win against Texas Tech. 3rd and 5. Lockley to throw it under pressure. It is caught. Wilson breaks away from James Montero, but is still wrapped up by Jaden Rashada and company. So that'll bring out the field goal unit. The senior, Cash Money, from around 28. His kick is up, and it is, quite literally, Cash Money living up to his name. 3-0 lead for the Dogs. Really good opening drive by Georgia. I was thoroughly impressed by their offense, but they were only able to muster up a field goal. 3rd and 3, Glikowski, broken away, incomplete, could have been picked. He got kind of lucky there. Isaiah Speasy had it right in his hands. Georgia with it. Jamison Vales with blocks. Down the field. Nobody's going to catch him. The Dogs are barking early. Touchdown, Georgia. Jamison Vales, a 66-yard touchdown, and that'll make it 10-0. Who needs Curtin Pexel anyway? Jamison Vales, the senior, who's been a backup for Georgia over the years, taking advantage of the opportunity with his name called. A 10-0 lead for Georgia in the first quarter. The Dogs look good early, but remember, Miami was down 10-0 after the first quarter against Texas Tech last week, and they ended up just fine. 3rd and 4, Glukowski breaking tackles, gets the first. He nearly broke off a huge run and is wrapped up at around the 40 by Royland Golden, the standout junior linebacker, projected top 100 draft pick. 2nd and inches, short throw. Evan Sutton with room. He's got blocks. Sutton to around the 30. He gets about 19. Such a dangerous player in space. Now a 3rd and 7. Play action. Glukowski under pressure. It's Dafari Ojulari with the sack, and that might knock them out of field goal range. A catastrophic sack. In the second round game between Wisconsin, Georgia outsacked the Badgers 7-0. So far today, they have certainly had the upper hand in terms of the pressure. Field goal is good, though, for Miami. Steven Wagner drills a long one. I didn't think they were going to kick there, but he connects from 52, and it is 10-3. So unlike last week, Georgia allows points. Otherwise, though, a great first quarter for them. 3rd and 12. Lockley with a strike. It's caught. Camariah Jackson, the standout sophomore, 10-3 through 1. Georgia looks good early. Ryan Lockley so far has been a lot better today than he was in the first game against Wisconsin. Jamison Bales has been impressive. Both teams have exactly 5 minutes of time of possession, but Georgia's averaging more than double the amount of yards per play. They sit at over 11 up to this point. Starting the second quarter, Georgia leads by a touchdown. As it's 2nd and 10 at around the 30. Lockley, RPO, it's caught. This is Adrian Moon, breaking tackles, projected first-round receiver who was quiet in the win against Wisconsin, largely because the quarterback play was bad. But he gets the first. Inside the 30, Jamison Bales goes the wrong way. A couple of guys were there in the backfield, including number 75, LaMichael Love, the first-round edge rusher, as that one is intercepted. Matt Jordan, who picked off Wilfred Sumale the Younger a week ago, picks off Ryan Lockley today. I guess he's kind of taken over as the Ahmad Lacey of this team. It's all about the U. Miami will get the ball back, only trailing by a touchdown. And after a slow start, they are very much right back in the ball game. We'll see if they can take advantage of the turnover as on 3rd and 6. Glukowski lobs it up down the field. It is caught! Otis Gaffney climbs the ladder. He gets 43. Gaffney, a big-time contested catch guy at the goal line. Touchdown, Hurricanes. Raekwon Ishmael is in for the score. Nazir's cousin. Those jeans are really showing off there. And we are tied at 10. It was all about Georgia early, but much like the Texas Tech game, this Miami squad, they don't waver. They immediately tie it at 10. Georgia gets it back, starting at around the 15. It's Vales up the middle with a hurdle. Gets it near the 30, where he's wrapped up by Matt Jordan. 6 carries, 91 yards for Vales in his 5th season at the University of Georgia. Jackson on the screen. Juke move! There he goes! Camariah Jackson with a quick answer for the Dogs. 63-yard touchdown. Georgia's right back ahead. The former #1 high school recruit in the country now positioning himself to be one of the top players off the board in next year's draft. I mean, what a season this kid has had. I thought he was disappointing as a freshman, quite frankly, but he has broken out onto the scene as one of the best receivers in college football this year. He's big, he's physical, and he can dance a little bit, as we saw in that play, making the defender miss in the open field. So Miami's right back down by 7. Glukowski is thrown to the turf. Ahmad Smith, number 94, the possible first-round edge rusher, joined by number 5, Isaiah DeRugi, the ultra-versatile linebacker who will certainly go at the very least in the top 100. Both guys now with 12.5 sacks on the season. That is amongst the leaders in the SEC. 3rd down and 13 for Miami with 2:10 to play. It's a blitz. Screen for Hershey. Gets popped in the backfield. Georgia calls the timeout. Big-time hit. They read that play perfectly. It's Rayleigh Kearns, again, the player of the week defensively a week ago with the hit. 3rd and 10. Lockley misfires looking for Cam Lewis. That'll lead to a punt. Miami's got it. 3rd and 3. Here's Glukowski. Goes short. It's caught. Sutton, no first down. Pushed out of bounds quickly. Good job by the Georgia defense once again. That was Kearns again with the tackle. Clock is ticking, 30 seconds left, third down for Georgia. Lockley under pressure, hit as he throws. It's Moon who does not get the first down. Number 21, Ben Grave Motion, one of the top off-ball linebackers in the draft. We'll be talking about him in the upcoming Browns prospect profile. Makes the tackle. 8 seconds left here for Miami. They are out of timeouts. It's on 2nd and 1. Glukowski dances around. Under pressure, he's sacked by the freshman. Oluwafemi Osei Ambrosius brings him down, and that'll wrap up the first half here in Arizona. 17-10, the Dogs with the lead over Miami. It's been a good game so far. I would say definitely a better game than the first one. Now, granted, the last 5 minutes were absolute cinema, but in terms of the game from start to finish being exciting, this one looks quite a bit better. The story for me has definitely been Jamison Bales, though. 7 carries, 92 yards, and a touchdown. He's been awesome. Ryan Lockley's been okay. I wouldn't say he's been bad, but I don't think he's been that great. 15 of 20, 392 yards and a score. As for the Canes, Glukowski, 15 of 18, 130 yards and a touchdown through the air. Everybody's really been productive for them. Nobody has more than 3 catches. The problem for Miami is that they only have 9 carries for 17 yards. Many of those are off of sacks. Evan Sutton only has 4 rushes for 17 yards. Hershey only has 1 carry for 2 yards. They've got to give those guys the ball more. Georgia, meanwhile, has 8 carries for 95 yards. So it's very clearly been night and day on the ground. Here's Sutton on the wheel route. I told you they got to get him the ball more. Such a dangerous player in space as he gets a nice gain through the air. Although on 2nd down, Miami loses yards. That's Hershey going the wrong way. And we're looking at a 3rd and 5. Royland Golden was the one with the tackle for the Dogs. Him and Ben Grave Motion both projected probably in that day 2 fringe top 50 range at linebacker, as that's going to go for a first down. It's Otis Gaffney who gets it to about the 40. Now a 3rd down for the Canes. Glukowski looks to throw it under some pressure from DeRugi off the edge, looking for the end zone, wants it all, incomplete. Avion Graham, who had the pick 6 to start the scoring a week ago, is the one who makes the play. 57-yard field goal for Wagner is no good. He made one earlier from 52. I'm a little surprised they were gutsy enough to go for that long of the kick. I personally think I would have punted it. But Georgia now will get it back, and they'll get very good field position and a real shot to make it a 2-score lead. 3rd down and 8. Lockley looks to throw it. Lockley looking up the middle, incomplete. So Georgia doesn't take advantage of the missed kick. Miami's going to get it back. Here's Evan Sutton with plenty of room down the field. Tracked down from behind by David Noriega. That's a great tackle. Only a 77 overall at safety making the play, which is strange because Georgia's got like 4 safeties in the 90s. I don't know how he's on the field. Hershey on 3rd down gets stopped. So the Dogs are able to get another stand. This game was all about offense early. Now it's the defense. QB sneak. Lockley doesn't get it. I feel like in real time he very clearly got that first down. I don't know what the officials are thinking. 3rd down and 10 for Miami. Glukowski to throw it up and incomplete. A lot of contact, no flag. I guess that is Georgia's get back. But they don't get the first down on 3rd and 2. Vales gets nothing. That'll wrap up the 3rd. It was 17-10 at halftime, and there has been no score change. And I feel like the funny part about these two offenses right now is it's not even like they're close to scoring. I mean, other than the missed field goal to start the 3rd, it's been an offensive disaster class, both ways, over the last 10 minutes. Well, Miami, at the very least, is going to have to get some points here in the 4th. Glukowski floats it up, incomplete. So Georgia gets yet another stop. Miami's not at the point of the game where they're going to go for it just yet. There's still 8 minutes left. 3rd and 8, screen into the ground. Miami makes the play again. A lot of guys sending pressure, including Love and Ramsor. Glukowski with a little over 7 to go. He is sacked. The big defensive tackle, Zach Speaks, brings him down. And this Georgia defense just looks unstoppable. In terms of the battle between Miami's great offensive line and Georgia's great defensive line, it very clearly has favored the Bulldogs. Glukowski sacked again by Zach Speaks. Georgia is out-sacking Miami 5-0. I certainly did not see that going into this game, given that Miami has arguably the more dynamic pass rushers and, in my opinion, the better offensive line. But it's Georgia who's winning the battle at the line of scrimmage, a big reason why they still have the lead. 2nd and 10, Jamison Vales bounces off a blocker, gets the first. And there goes Vales past the 50, the 40, the 35. A huge run. for Jamison Vales. Finally, a big play here in the second half that should get Georgia into field goal range, which would make it a 2-score game. There has been no scoring since halftime, but finally, Jamison Vales looks to be the one to change that with a juke move past the 15, nearing the 10. And if you're Miami, you certainly want to hold them out of the end zone, but you don't want Georgia to use too much clock. 3rd down and 9. Lockley calls a switch at the line. Looks to throw it. End zone. Double teamed. Incomplete, but there's a flag. Oh my goodness. If that's a pass interference on Miami, that is a killer. That is the worst thing that could have happened to the Hurricanes, and it is, on Jackson Wade, the freshman. So this is worst case scenario because now Georgia gets a first down, they get to reset the chains, and they get an opportunity to chew even more clock. Sure enough, Jamison Vales goes the wrong way. Nice tackle by Jaden Rashada, who had, I think, 17 against us earlier in the year. But that means Georgia's going to be able to burn all this clock. 2nd and goal. Touchdown, Jamison Vales. Georgia adds to the lead. 24-10. The first points for either team in over 20 minutes. It's been a while, but I don't think Georgia's complaining. They're up by 14 with under 4 minutes to go. Now, we just saw Texas blow a 20-point lead in a similar time frame, so Georgia can't get too excited just yet. 2nd and 5. Glakowski sacked once more. This pass rush is unbelievable. A lot of guys in the backfield. I saw Speaks was there. I saw Ahmad Smith was there. I saw Forrest Robinson was there. That one is broken up on 3rd and 10, and obviously they're going to have to go for it. 4th and 10, 3 minutes and 12 seconds left. This could be the last gasp for Miami. Glakowski hurls it up down the field, tipped away by DJ Harbor. Georgia's got it in the red zone, looking to seal the deal for good. 3rd down and 3. Lockley looks to throw it. Lockley, end zone, touchdown! Cameron Lewis is in for the score, and Georgia appears to have this game just about wrapped up. With 2:20 left to go, they will take a 31-10 lead. Georgia's offense did nothing for 2 quarters, but their defense was able to hold down the fort. Their offense now adding some insurance, and it looks like they've got this one just about covered. But again, we just saw Texas blow a similar lead. Glakowski will roll it up again on 3rd down. Incomplete. Great coverage in the back end by Avion Graham. He has had quite the playoff run for Georgia at corner. 4th down and 5. This feels like it is officially it for good if they don't get it. Glakowski, the redshirt senior, 3-year starter. It is caught. So they'll keep it alive a little bit longer. With 1:14, 2nd and 8. That one is caught. Another first down. Raekwon Ishmael near the 40. 3rd and 7. Read option. And Glakowski's going nowhere. Ahmad Smith brings him down. Boy, has his stock gone up during these playoffs. 4th down and 9. They've got to go for it with under a minute to play. Glakowski joined by Sutton. Incomplete, looking for Augusto Duarte. Royland Golden got a hand on it. Ryan Lockley will kneel the clock out. And our national championship is set. Number 1 Ohio State versus number 2 Georgia. Ever since we started the NCAA Next Up series, I think this is only the 2nd time we would have the number 1 go against the number 2. The only other time I can think this would have happened would have been Season 4, the original Next Up series. Puma Whitlock in Ohio State against his former teammate with the Dragons, Darwin Juskins in the Washington Huskies, a game that Ohio State, of course, ended up winning. This was a weird one because it was very competitive for 3.5 quarters. Georgia won by 21, but I would argue this game was more competitive than the first game, which was won by 1 point. But Miami, ultimately, they really fell apart late. Georgia had good field position, scored a couple of times, but this really ended up being a defensive battle, which was surprising because in the first 15 minutes, it looked like neither of these defenses could stop a nosebleed. And then seemingly out of nowhere, there was no scoring for the next 20 minutes until Georgia added some late touchdowns. Georgia's defense is ridiculous. I mean, in 2 playoff games, they've allowed 10 points. Now, I think Ohio State is a much better offensive team than certainly Wisconsin, and I think they're a lot better on paper than Miami. The Canes could not run the ball at all, 1.6 yards per carry, and they were not clutch on the money downs. 3 for 15 on 3rd, 1 of 3 on 4th. Ryan Lockley was better. I still would not say great. He only completed 60% of his throws. He did have an interception. but it hasn't mattered. These guys just keep winning. Miami is as good on paper as Georgia. Ryan Lockley did not play well, and Georgia still won by 21. The biggest reason is this guy. Jamison Vales is the MVP of the game. 20 carries, 180 yards in the first start of his career. Not bad, I've got to say. He was awfully impressive. Through the air, nobody really stood out because their passing game wasn't that great. Moon only had 46 yards. Jackson had 98 and a touchdown. Granted, he was quiet in the second half, but that 63-yarder was sick. Georgia's offensive line was S tier. I mean, holy cow, were they good. Against 2 first-round defensive linemen, against maybe the top non-quarterback off the board in Ramsor, Georgia ran it down Miami's throats, and Lockley never got sacked once. Defensively, elite. Royal and Golden, Ray Leak Kearns, those guys live in the backfield. Zach Speaks, DeFario Jalari, Isaiah DeRuggi, Osei Ambrosius, Ahmad Smith, all of these guys getting to the quarterback at will. Georgia has outsacked their opponents in the first 2 rounds, I think now 14-0. Graham Glikowski wasn't bad. He wasn't good enough. I think the play calling was the bigger issue. Why did Evan Sutton get 9 carries? Why did Damon Hershey get 3 carries? That's inexcusable. They shouldn't have gone away from the run. Through the air, their leader in yards was Gaffney with 72. A number of guys with over 5 catches, including Sutton, who was very good through the air. 5 catches, 52 yards. Their offensive line disappointed me, though. Jared Cookus, the projected top guard in the draft, was not that impressive against that great Georgia defensive line. Darryl Ramstor, I thought, had a good game, even though he wasn't super productive as a pass rusher. What's really exciting about him is, sure, he's this elite edge rush prospect, but he can do everything at linebacker. LaMichael Love, though, his name did not show up in the box score. He was really disappointing, honestly, in both games. I don't think I called his name once against Texas Tech. So with that, our championship is set, Ohio State and Georgia. That will be today. That will not be in a separate episode. We'll be starting that in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. As I simulate the week, I found out Virginia Tech is hiring a new defensive coordinator. Willie Hill will be taking over, and the reason why there's a vacancy to begin with is because our previous defensive coordinator has left for greener pastures. So, of course, with Luke Fickell leaving Wisconsin for Michigan, they need a head coach. And they hired our guy, Sam Seifs, who's been the defensive coordinator for the last 3 years. He's never been a head coach at any level of college football, but he does have a lot of experience at a lot of smaller schools in the state of Wisconsin. He's from Wisconsin, so it's a homecoming for him. Willie Hill, meanwhile, is just new to the save file, so he must have been some smaller position coach elsewhere. But I think Seifs, our defensive coordinator, he really deserves this promotion. He had an outstanding season for us. I'm very happy for him, and I hope he does a great job with the Badgers, his home school. But anyway, we've got to focus on this national championship. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. Players of the week, Jamison Vales and Royland Golden. I'm happy it was Vales and not Malachi Foreman because Jamison Vales was good the whole game. Malachi Foreman was good for about 5 minutes. Hell, Juju Webb won it over Malachi Foreman with his 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. So everything comes down to this. Number 1, Ohio State. Number 2, Georgia. I think whichever team wins this game, they would be recognized as probably the best team of the series so far. Sure, Clemson last year and Texas Tech the year before are awesome. Very well-deserving national champions, and they both won their championship games fairly convincingly. Texas Tech by 17, Clemson by 26. But Ohio State looks to win their 3rd title of the college football playoff era, as does Georgia. The Bulldogs won back-to-back titles, while Ohio State won the first ever 4-team playoff and the first ever 12-team playoff. These 2 schools have a lot of legacy in this series. Georgia won the initial NCAA Next Up Championship with Clyde Williamson, who of course ended up being the number 1 pick to the Detroit Lions in Madden 23. Georgia's never made it back to the championship since, believe it or not. They've always been in the mix, but they've never gotten there since the initial season, which remember was only a 4-team playoff, and their 2 wins were against Middle Tennessee State and South Alabama. Shout out Cardell Simpson. Ohio State, meanwhile, is the only team ever from every iteration of the NCAA Next Up series combined to win more than 1 title. They went back-to-back in the OG NCAA Next Up series in seasons 3 and 4 over Romeo Colucci's Oklahoma team and Darwin Juskin's Washington team. But much like Georgia, despite always being in the mix, they've never gotten back. Both of these teams had heartbreaking chokes in the semifinals. Ohio State in year 1, Georgia in both seasons 1 and 2. They've both finally cleared over those hurdles and have made it to this game. It's really hard to argue against these teams not being the 2 best in the country. They've got college football's 2 best coaches, two best quarterbacks, two best tight ends, two best secondaries, loaded on the offensive line, loaded on the defensive line. We are in for a barn burner as Reggie Motley loses 3. Rayleigh Kearns brings him down. 2nd and 13, it's an RPO. Aston Alexander III with plenty of room. He gets the first to the 30. Just the second time in NCAA Next Up history, the number 1 seed plays to the number 2. Ohio State and Washington, Puma and Juskins. The only other instance where number 1 seed Ohio State did win that game is Devontae Francois, who's been really quiet this playoff run, gets the first down. Now up the middle with Deontay Tyler. He's got plenty of room. Breaks the tackle. Sayonara. Touchdown, Ohio State. For now. Because this one is coming back. A holding call against the Buckeyes on the right tackle, Cam Sexton. They are backed up all the way at the 48 with a 3rd down and 18 instead of the touchdown by Tyler. Foreman looks to throw it, winds up deep down the field. It is incomplete. Ballsy throw for Foreman, who's only been picked off once all year. Now we take a look at Ryan Lockley. I am fascinated to see how he looks given his struggles throughout his playoff career. 3rd down and 5. Lockley is sacked. It's Quincy Anabuife who brings him down. Not one of the big names on this defensive line, but he sends pressure, makes the play. First time Lockley has been sacked the entire playoff run. Buckeyes get it back, 3rd and 7. Look at Malachi go, scrambling for a gain of 11. Once he knew he wanted to run, his acceleration went from 0 to 100 real quick. Deontay Tyler to the left side, first down past the 35, where he is wrapped up by Isaiah Speasy. And Ohio State's moving it pretty well here on drive number 2. We'll see if they're a little more successful in terms of finishing the drive as Motley goes the wrong way. Ahmad Smith starts it and Isaiah DeRougie finishes. 4th and 4, they're going to go for it. I respect the ballsiness. I don't know if I would have made the same decision. Foreman connects. Alexander breaks the tackle. He's in. Touchdown, the Ohio State University. Aston Alexander III, the true sophomore, is in for the touchdown. You could easily argue the 2 best receivers in next year's class are both playing in this game, with Alexander for Ohio State, Kamariah Jackson from Georgia. I think the only other guy I would put in that tier with these 2 is Myson Harrell from Tennessee. 3 surefire first-round guys. You see it there with Alexander, who breaks the tackle from Avion Graham, who's been one of Georgia's best defensive players in the playoff, which says a lot because everybody's been really good. 7-0 lead, 2nd and 10. Jamison Vales loses a yard. Good tackle by Nick Pooley. This guy's a stud at safety. I think he's the best one in the draft. 3rd down and 12 for the Dogs. Their offense hasn't gotten much going yet. Lockley's pass is broken up and incomplete. That'll wrap up the first. A good start for Ohio State. They lead at 7-0. The Buckeyes, I think, have pretty clearly been the better team through the first quarter. They've had the ball for nearly 8 minutes. I mean, Georgia's averaging negative yards per play. They have negative 2 yards of offense so far. On 2nd down, Foreman connects. Wide open is Deontay Tyler past the 25. A huge play after the catch for the running back, who's really impressed me as a pass catcher during these playoffs. And Ohio State has a chance to add to the lead early in the second. 1st and goal, Foreman, quick throw, touchdown, Buckeyes. It's Jaden Sturm, one of the backup receivers, in for the score, and Ohio State leads at 14-0. Georgia is officially in uncharted territory. We haven't really seen them with a big deficit like this against a great team. They started off the Miami game hot. The Canes obviously came back quickly, but it was Georgia who set the tone there. Obviously, they set the tone against Wisconsin, but not today. They've got to get going. Ryan Lockley and the offense has struggled. Vales breaks away for the first down conversion. Big play past the 40 where he's eventually wrapped up by Josh Phoenix. 2nd and 10, play action. Lockley hurls it up, down the field, and it is caught! Kamariah Jackson for 55 to the 5. What a play by Jackson using his big physical body. 6'5", 210, probably with more room to add weight. I mean, this guy is an absolute giant. There's a reason why he was the number 1 player in his high school class. He puts Kabarian Baker Jr. on a poster. And George is now in striking distance of making it a 1-score game. First and goal, just over 6 to play in the first half. Lockley hands it off. Jamison Vales is in for a touchdown. And Georgia brings it within one score. It's 14-7. So it looks like we'll be getting a game and not some crazy blowout, which we were expecting a game. The two best teams in the country, I think the most talented national championship we have ever had in an NCAA Next Up series between two of the best teams I've quite frankly ever seen. Third down, Foreman down the field, wide open. Devontae Francois had himself quite the first half. I don't know if he caught a pass against Texas, and he was quiet against Virginia Tech, but the big-time transfer from Pitt is now really starting to get rolling. Under 4 to go, Motley loses a yard. Ahmad Smith brings him down. He has definitely been one of the best players throughout this college football playoff, regardless of team and side of the ball. Foreman on second down. He's got Dakota inside the 10, past the 5, tracked down by Roy Golden. But a really nice play by Tyson Dakota, who we held in check. Texas certainly did not, and Georgia really hasn't either. Now it's a first and goal. Funky formation for the Buckeyes. Play action. Foreman, touchdown! We saw the backup receiver score earlier. Now it's the backup tight end. Shaq McCarron with the touchdown. And Ohio State is back up by 2 possessions, as it's going to be 21-7. Georgia has the ball now, though, and they had the ball to start the third, so they've got a chance to certainly make this game interesting. Lockley fires. He's got Moochie Wilson, the sophomore tight end, who I think is in line to be the top tight end off the board in next year's class. He's been so productive. He has replaced the All-American Jared Irving perfectly. Irving, a third-rounder, of course, by the Cowboys. Up the middle, nice grab. Adrian Moon has been quiet this afternoon. He really had to reach up and grab that ball. 3rd and 10, 54 seconds in the half. Lockley, end zone, touchdown! K. Mariah Jackson again. I mean, this guy is a total baller. You're going to see him in the top 5 of your way too early mock drafts. The hype feels very similar to Suro Nobles 2 years ago after his redshirt freshman year at Georgia. He obviously ended up transferring to Tennessee. Still ended up being a high pick. And, well, against our Browns, he had 200 yards with the Seahawks this year as a rookie with his guy Sam Darnold. 21-14, Ohio State does not get the first down on the RPO. So they're going to have to punt it. Overall, though, a really good first half for the Ohio State offense. Much better than they were against Texas. 12 seconds for Georgia. Lockley caught. Not going to get much of anything. And they might have time for one more play before the break. They're out of timeouts. They're going to hurry back to the line. And Lockley will get it off with a second left. Play action. Lockley scrambles on the run. Hurls it up for the end zone. It is caught. No, it's dropped! In and out of the hands of the tight end, Moochie Wilson. How did he drop that? He was wide open. That would have tied the game. A perfect throw by Ryan Lockley, who I have been critical of in this playoff. That was his best play of the playoffs so far, and it absolutely should have been caught. 21-14, we've got a good one going into the break of the national championship. Ohio State with the edge. Both offenses and both quarterbacks playing well. Malachi Foreman, 17 of 20, 206 yards and 3 touchdowns. Francois leads the way with 72. Lockley hurls it up on 3rd and 8. It is broken up. Chris Islands has put Adrian Moon in a box today. Moon in the first half only had 1 catch, and Islands wasn't even covering him that play. First down and more past the 50. That's Juju Webb. A little quieter than he's been, but still pretty solid in the first half. Had a couple catches. This one is coming back, though, a holding against Ohio State. Again, it's Cam Sexton. A couple of freshman mistakes by the youngster. Second down and 16. Foreman looks to throw it. Foreman under pressure. He is sacked. Ahmad Smith and Isaiah DeRugi. The dynamic pass rushing duo is at it again. Now, DeRugi was very quiet in the Wisconsin game. I think he only played like 8 snaps, but he's been good in both games today, as has Ahmad Smith. 3rd and 27 now. Foreman looks to throw it. Scrambles on the run. It's caught. Dakota gets a lot of yardage, but not enough for the first down. Georgia gets it back. Lockley in the first half was really solid. 12 of 18 for 160. Dale's only had 5 carries. 22 yards and a score. Lockley deep again. It's broken away by Chris Islands, who has been the best player on the field. I mean, oh my God, has he lived up to the billing as a top 5 pick, really. Foreman incomplete. He probably is the best argument with Islands for the best player today. That one was broken up in the secondary, but there was a lot of contact. Defensive pass interference against David Noriega, who played really well against Miami, but he makes a big mistake there. 3rd down and 5. Foreman, first down, juke move past the 20, where he's wrapped up by Avion Graham and Royland Golden. Golden just seems to be all around the field. I mean, his football instincts are very clearly impressive. A rotational player early in his career who had flashes in the playoff, should have been intercepted. Wow, he dodged a bullet. Dafari Ojolari had it right in his hands. That'll bring out the field goal team now for Ohio State, and their 62 overall kicker. Jarrell Moe from 42, it is good. Give the kid credit. He has not missed a single kick in the playoff, and he's had some big ones, including the extra point to win it against Texas. 24-14, Buckeyes lead by 10, a 2-score game with about 2 minutes to play. Georgia's got to get something going here. Their offense has been pretty bad in the second half. Lockley, option, gets a block, first down. They've been really trying to stretch the field, and it hasn't worked because, I mean, Chris Islands is just, he's putting receivers on an island. With just over a minute, Lockley up the middle, it's caught. That's Jackson with the first down. I feel like they've really got to run things through Jackson right now because Adrian Moon is just not getting open. 6 seconds left up the middle. There he is, Adrian Moon with the first down. The first catch all game that Chris Islands has allowed. 24-14 through 3. The Buckeyes add to it in the third. They're 1 quarter away from winning the title. This game's not over, though. Georgia's averaging more yards per play than Ohio State. They still have about 50 less yards, but that's because Ohio State has had the ball for over 60% of the game. Georgia's got it now. They're moving it pretty well as we've got a big play. Here it's picked off! Josh Fenix has got it for the Buckeyes on the return near the 40. And the momentum of this drive is zapped away. Ryan Lockley, who's been a playoff choker with a brutal turnover, trying to fit it down the field. Fenix had the clinching interception against Virginia Tech at the Rose Bowl, and he gets, in my opinion, a far bigger one here against the Dogs. Ohio State up by 10 with possession in the 4th. It's on 3rd down. Here's Foreman. He is sacked. Zach Speaks makes the play for Georgia. Their pass rush has been better than Ohio State today, even if the gap is smaller than what we've seen between Georgia and then both Wisconsin and Miami over the first couple of games. But the Dogs get it back. They've got it at the 36. Still about 9 minutes to go. I don't think they need to panic just yet. Lockley is sacked on the blitz. Kamarian Baker Jr. soars into the backfield, and Lockley did not see him coming. 3rd down and long. Lockley under pressure from Rudy Sledge. He's just going to go short. Do you go for it if you're Georgia? I think with 8 minutes left, it's probably a little too early. They're going to punt it. And Ohio State gets it back, looking to make it a 3-score lead. 2nd down and medium. Here's Foreman. To the right side, it's caught for a first down by Juju Webb. Everybody's getting in the rock here for this offense. Read option with under 6 to go. Foreman gets the first. He's wrapped up by Roy Golden and friends. The Buckeyes, though, are really starting to chip away at this clock. Now 5:25 to go. Ohio State can taste it. 2nd and 10. Foreman looks to throw it. Up the middle, it's caught. Tyson Dakota, first down past the 40. Ohio State continues to move the ball well, and even more importantly, they are burning this clock. Foreman up the middle on the option, has the first, breaks the tackle! His national championship moment! Doesn't quite bring it to the end zone. That would have been crazy. But he gets it to around the 10. What a run by Malachi Foreman. 3.5 to go. 3rd and 11. Touchdown, Ohio State! Juju Webb, the hero again. He has turned himself into a legend during this playoff run, as has Malachi Foreman. Some of the best quarterbacking we have seen in the playoff in the NCAA Next Up series, rivaling that of Puma Whitlock. Now, remember, Ohio State was down by 20 with 4 minutes to go in the last game, and they won. Georgia's down by 17 with 3 minutes to go. That one is caught for a first down and then some. Big play after the catch. That's redshirt freshman Warren Cummings, who's not a starter, but is expected to play a bigger role for the Dogs next year, getting some late run and making a big play. Georgia's got under 3 minutes now. Lockley to throw it up the middle. It's caught. Moochie Wilson throws the defender off of him and gets it to around the 30. B.J. Sampson took the worst of that one. 2nd and 10 up the middle. This is Jimmy Abbott inside the 10. The veteran redshirt senior who's been around for Georgia, now at the 2-minute timeout. Lockley under pressure from Filipovic. It's incomplete, and they're going to have to go for it here on 4th and goal. Minute 48 left. This really is for the game. If they don't get it, I think it's just about over. Lockley looks to throw it. Touchdown, Georgia. Moochie Wilson, the tight end, has had himself a night. In for a score, and the lead is within 10. 31-21 with a minute 46. Now Georgia's got to go for the onside kick. As Cash Money bounces it up, and it's picked up by Ohio State. No funny business for the Buckeyes. They'll look to choose some clock and seal the deal. 3rd and 7. Foreman broken up, incomplete, looking for Francois. So Georgia will get it back. They've got a 4th and 10 here for the game. Lockley has all day. Hit as he throws, incomplete, and that'll do it. A party in Columbus. The world-famous Ohio State Buckeyes are now the world-famous national champions. The number 1 seed completes the perfect 16-0 season. Ryan Day, Malachi Foreman, and Ohio State have won the national championship here in Season 3 of the Virginia Tech Dynasty. I guess it makes me feel a little bit better that we lost to the eventual champions, who of course had quite the road to get here. They arguably should have won the whole thing in year number 1, but they blew it against Texas Tech, and I honestly think based on how that national championship game went, they would have beaten Alabama. Last year with a young quarterback, they missed the playoff, but it was obvious the talent and the upside was there with the national championship game MVP and the college football playoff MVP, Malachi Foreman, who has locked himself as the number 1 pick, presumably, of the NFL draft. After missing the playoff a year ago, the Buckeyes got to work. 14 of their 16 wins were decided by multiple possessions. They blew out Virginia Tech in the Rose Bowl. They had the greatest comeback in the history of the playoff, down by 20 with 4 minutes left against Texas to win. And then they beat a juggernaut Georgia team by 10 in the title game. Ohio State was the better team throughout, and Georgia definitely kept it interesting and competitive. This was not a blowout, but the Buckeyes are the best team in the country, and they are absolutely deserving of the national title. Malachi Foreman is a heck of a player, and some NFL team is going to be very lucky to get him. We'll talk about his possible landing spots in the upcoming Browns episode in a couple days. Today, 24 of 35, 284 touchdowns, just a very clean game. I mean, he didn't make mistakes. He led the team in rushing as well with 41. Ohio State is going to have to replace him. They could go portaling. They've got a kid they really like, though, already on the roster. His name is Chad Tariq. He's a freshman who I wouldn't be surprised if he's just outright the starter. Aston Alexander will return, although Francois and Webb are gone. Tyson Dakota, you would think, is gone. The offensive line will look very different, but they will return running back Deontay Tyler. Defensively, this is one of the best defenses I've ever seen, with guys like Nick Baker and Josh Fenix. Chris Islands had an unbelievable game. He had Adrian Moon, who's going to go in the first round at receiver. He had Moon in hell today. Lockley, 22 of 40, 277, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Just not good enough. He wasn't horrible. I mean, the thing with Lockley throughout these playoff games is that it's not like he was bad, but he wasn't as good as he was in the regular season, and the moment at times felt a little bit too big. Is it enough to keep him out of the first round? I don't think so, because I think he's been that good this year, but there are some questions. Vales was a lot quieter today than against Miami. Mariah Jackson and Moochie Wilson were good, but Adrian Moon had 2 catches the whole game. First-round receiver versus first-round corner, and it was Chris Islands who very easily won the battle by far. Defensively, I thought Georgia, they did what they could. They were great throughout the year. They were unbelievable in the first 2 playoff games, and they had a lot of TFLs, but their coverage, their secondary, which I think is as good as Ohio State's, well, they were not as good as Ohio State's today, that's for sure. Their coverage was certainly not very impressive. So Ohio State wins the national championship, and if I were to rank all of the teams who have won championships throughout every iteration of Next Up, those guys would be right at the top of the list. I don't know if they would be ahead of the Puma Whitlock Ohio State teams. I don't think Malachi Foreman is quite at that level, but I don't remember that Ohio State roster from head to toe being as good as this one. I mean, you look at Tyson Dakota and Savion Rocker on the offensive line. Defensively, Oakton Filipovic, Nick Poley, Of course, Chris Island's at corner. Those 5 guys, along with Malachi Foreman, are all probably going to be in the top 15 picks this year. And they could have a few other guys like Kenji Ito and Kamari Baker and Rudy Sledge slip into the first round. And then next year, Aston Alexander is going to go very high. Deontay Tyler, once he enters the draft, he's going to go really high. I mean, this roster is just so good. Ohio State obviously finishes the year number 1, Georgia at 2, Miami at 6, even though they beat Texas Tech and Clemson in the ACC title. Ole Miss jumps us. That's odd. Did we not just beat them? I mean, Ole Miss, to be fair, they could say the same thing because they beat us in the regular season and we got the home game over them anyway. So, I guess they kind of have that over us after all. In terms of the players of the week for the national championship, of course, Malachi Foreman joined by Avion Graham, Kamari Baker for the Big Ten. I think Chris Islands got snubbed. It's because he didn't put up the big numbers, but he was very clearly, to me, the defensive MVP of the playoff and certainly of the national championship. That guy is a legit shutdown corner who I think brought himself probably from a late first rounder going into the playoff to CB1 into the top 10 at least. So what is the plan now as we move into season number 4? So, of course, we're going to have the offseason upcoming within the coming days. The Browns' offseason is on the horizon as well. Over the last month or so, I've been planning the schedule out to where we would be done the offseason here and hopefully done the offseason for the Browns series by the time MLB The Show 26 is out. And I think I'm going to have half of that. We're going to have the Virginia Tech offseason done for sure. And we're going to be in a good spot to where obviously I'll be able to focus on MLB 26. And we'll be at a natural stopping point for this series so we can take that short break. And then within a couple weeks, it won't be that long, we'll be back for year number 4 here. However, I'm not so sure we're going to get the Browns offseason done by then. Now, if we make the playoffs, which if the Browns win their final game, we will be going to the playoffs, then it's pretty simple. Because those playoff games are easy to record because it's only one game I have to go through. And if especially we go on a playoff run, then we're definitely not going to get through the offseason by the time MLB comes out, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. Say we lose to the Ravens in Week 18 and we don't make the playoffs. I still would expect, I think the plan is we're going to get through free agency, we're going to get through the draft preview, then I think MLB The Show would come out next Friday, and then we're going to have the draft probably a few days after that. That's only if the Browns do not make the playoffs, though. If we do, then everything is probably pushed back a little bit. It would make things easier for me if the Browns made the playoffs because it would be less work in the short term. So, I mean, hopefully the Browns just make the playoffs anyway. But that'll wrap things up. I hope all that made sense. Feel free to ask in the comments or in the Discord if you're a little bit confused. The upcoming Browns episode will probably be on Friday, where we go through Week 18, and we have our prospect profile for the linebackers and DBs. We'll go over a lot of the guys who we got to watch today, which will be pretty fun. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed a really fun season number 3. This was definitely one of the most fun seasons of any of the NCAA Next-Ups we've had, in my opinion. Really fun playoff. Very, very deserving national champion. Make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. Peace out. Go Hokies.